Okay, let's just dive right into this. Welcome to today's Explainer. We're unpacking a truly wild, high-stakes journey right to the edge of the most restricted border on the planet. We're looking at an incredible source today from a creator who basically decided to document the hidden realities of the North Korean border. But they didn't just walk up with a bulky DSLR camera. Oh no, they used a tiny recording device cleverly disguised as a totally standard car key. The mission here? To literally cross into the demilitarized zone and intentionally capture footage that is strictly off-limits to the public. In doing so, they documented 3 specific rules, or, well, laws, that they broke along the way. Now, to really grasp the stakes of what we're looking at today, you have to hear this direct quote from the creator as they were approaching the border. They said, "I definitely have never felt more scared in my life." This isn't just a dry geography lesson we're going through. We are analyzing a tense, boots-on-the-ground experience. The creator was warned by their local guide about the very, very real dangers of this area. They were told point-blank that previous tourists have actually lost their lives in border incidents. So that raw, visceral fear, that's the lens through which we need to view the rest of this entire journey. So to understand that intense fear, we really have to understand the geography. The DMZ, the Demilitarized Zone, is this heavily fortified strip of land that separates North and South Korea. But here is the absolute kicker. These are 2 nations that are technically still at war, like a peace treaty was never actually signed. The creator was super aware of this lingering military tension, not to mention the severe nuclear threats that are constantly hovering over this really narrow strip of land. Let's be real, it's an active, live military zone that is just masquerading as a tourist destination. And you feel that military presence immediately. Before even getting close to the actual borderline, the creator had to navigate this rigorous, stressful procedural reality. Their guide, a guy named Juan, laid out a super strict security protocol. Step 1, multiple, rigorous ID checks. Step 2, active military soldiers physically boarding their tour bus to inspect the passengers. And Step 3, the constant, looming risk of confiscation. The creator knew for a fact that if their hidden car key camera was discovered, the footage would be immediately deleted. Or worse, they could face some really severe legal consequences. So that brings us right to Law 1, unseen eyes. The tension literally spiked the second they hit that checkpoint. Passports were temporarily confiscated. I mean, just imagine being in the creator's shoes for a second. They were the only American on this entire tour bus. A soldier walks right up, takes their passport without saying a single word, and just walks away. The creator is just left sitting there completely uncertain of what's going to happen. And when the soldier finally does come back and return the passport, the creator was forced to sign multiple documents entirely in Korean. Documents they essentially had to assume were waivers, releasing the military from liability if, anything fatal were to happen to them inside the zone. Okay, so with that first restricted footage successfully captured on the hidden key camera, panic really starts to set in. The creator knows they need to secure these video files immediately before anyone searches them. So, what do? They hide in a public bathroom. It was literally the only place they felt free from the unseen eyes of all those soldiers. But there's a problem: 0 cell service. So here's the incredibly clever workaround. They used a specific eSIM app called Swima right there in the bathroom stall. That instantly gave them a cellular connection, allowing them to frantically upload all that hidden footage straight to the cloud. So even if a soldier grabbed the physical camera, the mission wouldn't be a total loss. Absolutely wild. But look, as stressful as the digital threat of confiscation was, it was absolutely nothing compared to the physical threats lurking just outside that bathroom. As the creator ventured deeper into the DMZ, they were confronted with these massive signs warning of active landmines. It is a stark, life-or-death reality. The guide explained that sure, while some mines have been cleared over the years, a ton of them remain. In fact, a primary, everyday job for the border soldiers stationed there is simply detecting these leftover explosives. Just one wrong step off the designated path and the consequences would be instantly lethal. Which brings us to the second major restriction breached. Law 2, the invasion tunnel. So because exploring overland was way too restricted, the tour actually went deep underground. This is where the creators smuggled their hidden camera into a highly sensitive subterranean military zone. They were forced to leave all their normal, standard recording equipment in a locker way up above ground. But as they descended deeper and deeper into the earth, with that hidden key camera rolling, they started noticing something incredibly ominous scattered all throughout the tunnel, just piles of these things. And it begs the question, what on earth are those masks used for? The answer? It'll give you chills. Poisonous gas. The guide very plainly delivered the stark reality that these masks are emergency precautions. Because this specific tunnel connects directly to North Korea, there is this constant terrifying lingering threat that North Korean forces could just pump lethal gas into the narrow space at literally any moment. Those masks, they are purely there so that tourists and soldiers can hopefully survive just long enough to sprint back up to the surface. Actually, if the gas wasn't terrifying enough, get a load of this number: 30,000. That is the number of soldiers that could theoretically pour through this tiny, covertly carved tunnel into South Korea in just a single hour. Let that sink in. The guide explained that this specific invasion passage was literally engineered and blasted out of the solid rock by North Korea for one very specific reason: a massive, overwhelming surprise attack. So let's just summarize the extreme realities of this underground environment for a second. This is not a museum exhibit. It is an active military zone. The creator noticed these bright yellow markings painted on the rock, which the guide casually confirmed were spots where the walls are actually loaded with live dynamite. Just ready to completely collapse the tunnel in the event of an invasion. And finally, the tunnel just abruptly ends at a heavily sealed concrete wall. It has a small camera feed that gives this direct, super eerie view right into the North Korean side of the passage. Filming any of this is strictly forbidden, which just skyrockets the tension of carrying that hidden recording device every single second they were down there. Eventually, they head back above ground, and the creator gets a chance to observe these incredibly strange settlements that exist right on the razor's edge of the border. On the south side, you have what's called Unification Village. It's literally a town built right in the middle of the DMZ. It serves as the symbol of hope for families dreaming of eventual reunification with their loved ones in the north, even though the guide pointed out a dark history of kidnappings in that very area. But then, directly across the border, totally visible from an observatory, is what the creator described as a propaganda town in North Korea. According to the source, it's widely considered a totally fake city. Essentially a giant movie set, built solely to appear populous and prosperous to the tourists peering over from the south. It's fascinating. Okay, now we hit the creator's final push. Tensions in the region were actively rising on the very day of this tour, which meant a massively heightened military presence everywhere. First, they entered the final military base. Then, absolute panic struck. Their vehicle was suddenly stopped dead at an armed checkpoint. The creator's heart just sank. They were absolutely terrified that the hidden camera had finally been spotted and that both they and their driver were about to be arrested right there on the spot. But thankfully, after a very tense standoff, they were cleared. They ended up taking a detour to a quiet river edge. This was the absolute closest point they could safely get to North Korea without risking being shot. Which brings us to the final rule broken. Law 3. Blue jeans. Let's just do a quick recap of what's been achieved on this insanely high-stakes mission so far. Number 1, secretly filming an active military checkpoint and covertly smuggling the footage to the cloud. Crazy. Number 2, capturing hidden video deep inside an underground invasion tunnel rigged with actual dynamite. Also crazy. And number 3, well, standing right at that water's edge, looking directly at North Korean soil, the creator intentionally broke one final restriction. But honestly, compared to all the espionage and the landmines, this final reveal seems almost completely mundane. The blue jeans ban. As the creators stood right at the border, they revealed they were wearing a standard pair of blue jeans. Now, in North Korea, wearing blue jeans is strictly illegal. The regime views denim as an absolutely unacceptable symbol of westernization and American imperialism. The creator notes that any citizens caught wearing them across that river face unbelievably severe penalties. We're talking everything from being sent to a brutal detention camp to even facing the death penalty, simply for wearing denim. By standing there in those jeans, the creator completed their three-part mission of defying the strict, unseen rules that absolutely govern this area. Which leaves us with this final, really provocative thought. We've just explored the rigorous security, the terrifying underground tunnels rigged to blow, and the genuinely bizarre cultural bans that exist right at the edge of the demilitarized zone. But if this immense level of secrecy, danger, and strict regulation is what a hidden camera managed to capture just at the border, what on earth remains entirely unseen deeper inside the country? It is a question that completely makes you rethink the nature of global borders and the information we are and aren't allowed to see. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. I really hope this structured dive helped you grasp the unbelievable tension of this environment. Keep asking questions and keep learning. Catch you next time.